Hello, today we are going to discuss how the climate and geography of Africa affects the food choices of that continent. You will need today your map of Africa and your note sheets for Africa. At any time during this video, you may pause to enter your answers, you may rewind, or you may view several times. As you can see by looking at it, Africa is a large continent made up of many different countries, each with its own special topography and climate. Okay, on your map, I'd like you to add the equator as it runs through the center of Africa. I also like you to add the latitudinal lines of the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. Okay, these lines are very important. The equator gives it the tropical climate right here. And anything between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn are semi-tropic, which means that the further away you go from the equator in either direction, it is going to start getting a little cooler and you're going to have a little less rainfall, but in this area it is still tropical, so it's semi-tropical, and it is great for growing lush vegetation in areas that the land can support it. Anything above the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of below the Tropic of Capricorn are considered subtropical. So it's going to get drier and less rainfall in these areas, which makes it a little bit harder to grow crops in this area. Okay, you can also see that Africa is the second largest continent in size compared to Asia, which is over here and has Russia and China on it. It is also the warmest continent along with South America, which is over here. And that's because the equator runs through it. Okay, as we said, subtropical climates are the extreme north and south of Africa. And that's because the equator runs through the center. In these areas, you have dry summers with the average temperature of 72 degrees Fahrenheit, which is like June temperature here in Pennsylvania. The winters, the average temperature gets above 50 degrees Fahrenheit. This area here, with its dry climate, is great for growing grains. Grains are very important in the African diet, and three great grains for here are millet, teff, and sorghum. Now, they might look familiar to you. In this part of the world, they are used for bird seeds, but in Africa, they are used for daily food. In between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, we said that we had semi-tropical. In Central and Western Africa, which is right in here, temperatures get between 64 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and rainfall is yearly. It's a very humid area, so you're going to have lush vegetation. Around the equator, you're going to have tropical rainforests. The higher up in elevation you go, you're going to have snow-capped mountains, which will make it harder for vegetation to grow. In this area here, it's great for growing root crops like yams and cassava, vegetables like tomatoes and cucumbers. You have groundnuts, peanuts. You have bananas, dates, figs, plantains, citrus fruits, other tropical fruits, things like sugarcane, coffee, and cacao. Now, cacao is very important to people in the U.S. if you like chocolate, because it's the plant that produces the beans for chocolate and cocoa. Also in this area, because it is tropical, palm trees are abundant and it gives them palm oil for their cooking. Take a few moments to mark the savannas or the grasslands on your map. You can see here by the key that it is a lightly shaded green area. Now, according to this key, it says that it has scrub, which is sparse vegetation, like very sparse, and it's like stubby grass. And they have it as a prime pasture, and that's suitable for farmland because the majority of the population lives here. It does get the less rainfall of all of Africa, and it also has the greatest temperature range. It does have poor soil, even though they do farm it. It is hard to raise crops because the soil has little humus. Now, humus is the decayed matter that holds the water near the ground surface so that the plant roots can actually use it to feed the plants. Okay, take a few seconds here to shade in deserts or mark it on your map of Africa. You can see that there's two types of deserts. One is a semi-desert, which is suitable for camels and nomads and other animals like goats. And then you have extreme desert, which is really practically uninhabitable. Okay, and you have it up at the top in northern Africa and down here in southern Africa. Okay, the average temperature gets like 98 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer and 59 degrees Fahrenheit or higher for the winter. Rain is very rare and brief. It could rain for like 1 or 2 minutes and then stop, and then you won't see rain again for a couple of weeks or months. The oasis, which is a picture right here, you can see that it is desert, but in the center of the desert, you have a pond of water or a lake of water, and it has lush vegetation growing around it. So you would have nomads, and here's an example of a nomad. These are herders or farmers that move from oasis to oasis to raise their sheep, goats, and camels, and to grow their vegetables and their fruit. I do have a short clip on living in the desert. I'd like you to pay close attention to how they farm, the way they dress, how they live. Okay, and use that to compare to what you know about how things need to grow, or even how you live and grow here in Pennsylvania.
Ali lives in the Mauritanian desert. He is the last member of his family to preserve the nomadic tradition. The rest have emigrated to the city or abroad. His wife Data and her brothers have stayed with him in the desert. Together they work hard to survive in a hostile environment which is determined to throw them out forever. The two devastating droughts during the 80s decimated the animals to the point that even man could not survive. More than 70% of the Mauritanian population lives off the pastures. In 20 years, the nomads have been reduced to half.
Everything that is important to us is here, in the camp. I have also tried city life. I bought a wheat grinder and worked hard, but I had no other choice but to return to the desert. I could not adapt to the car fumes or to the fast pace. Everyone wanted wheat at the same time, and I only had one machine. I don't want any other life but this one. But my children want to study. The money that my wife and I earn from the sale of animals pays for our children's education. Our older children live in Nouakchott, and they only come back on vacation in order not to forget about us.
My dream is for it to rain for days and days on end, until the dry land becomes an immense green meadow and our children come back to live with us forever. I dream this every day.
Ali and Deda have held out, and the reward is not wealth, but dignity. Dignity carved from strokes of silence and days lost without traces of water. The dignity of knowing how to look death in the eye with determination, and to move on unharmed, stronger, and still be proud to inhabit the desert.
Okay, as you could see, there was extreme temperature and land issues that they had for raising their livestock. With the information that you got from the notes in the video, what are 3 things that stand out to you about Africa's geography and climate? List the 3 things that you have on your note sheets. Then describe how each of the factors can affect the food choices of Africa. Use your past knowledge and the knowledge that you just gained from this video to answer the question.